Meie tänase päeva teine pool jätkab siis andmetega, demokraatiaga, avalikkusega ja ka meie vabaduse teemadega. Ja sellest tulenevalt meie esimeseks ettekandjaks on professor Nico Carpentier, kes akadeemilise uurimustöö tuttavatele või meediauurijatele kindlasti ei vaja üldse tutvustamist, aga tutvustamist võib-olla vajaks tema uus lähenemine akadeemilise sõnumi edastamisel. Ehk täna, mida me näeme algatuseks, on uus vorm, kuidas meediauurijad saavad auditooriumiga suhelda, et seda sõnumit paremini kohale viia. Now, Nico, I introduced you, said that you are a great guy, and
I trust you.
Welcome. And you are introducing us a new way of academic communication. Research is done, and now this part of communication starts. Screen is yours, and please.
Thank you very much. And I would say thank you for the very kind introduction, which I completely understood. I trust you. So thank you. Great to be here. And I think that the core story has already been told. This is a presentation about democracy, but it is also about how we can use academic artistic approaches to communicate about democracy. And the story I want to tell you will be short because basically I want to show you a 26-minute long film about democracy, which was directed by myself and a colleague, Ali Minanto, with Sani Purvanto as the director of photography. We are considered to be the three authors. And Egon Constructions of Democracy, filmed in Prague, so you'll have a wonderful view also about Prague, is still a very academic film. And it's an inspiration that it got from a book that we first published, Democracy and Media in Europe, which tries to unpack two things, a number of issues related to democracy, and in particular some of the threats that we're facing when we have to deal with democracy itself, but also some of the threats that media that have to operate and want to operate in democratic settings have to face. So that's a bit of the context, the intellectual context of the story. There's one disclaimer, because I won't introduce the film in detail, I'll have you watch it first. There's one disclaimer. It was not my idea to have me in the film. I resisted violently, but I failed. So I'm afraid you'll still have to watch me. There's no escape to me. Enjoy the film, and I'll be back after the screening.
Democracy is a complex phenomenon because democracy is contested, contingent, and constructed. In other words, there is no one democracy, but a multiplicity of democracies both discursively and materially. But these core elements are combined with political struggles about the articulation of democracy. Moreover, democracy is grounded and supported by a series of conditions of possibility enabling factors, at least partially outside democracy, but very necessary for its existence. Democracy is also not a given reality, and we may lose it. Some actors aim to replace democracy by another form of societal problem solving, which may offer less power to its citizens. In other words, democracy is always under threat of erasure.
So the core idea of democracy is that there's the presence of both participation and representation. Representation means the delegation of power to a political leadership, while participation means the exercise of power by a political community. In Western democracies, though, the balance tilts towards representative democracy. Democracy also intersects with a strong will of the state and its institutionalized politics. It intersects with those institutionalized politics being highly mediatized at the same time.
Bezăceavele cu sistemul autoritarului acele genii. Ada beberapa catatan penting bahwa pasal dan ada sanksi yang tegas bagi pelanggar.
Help us to serve our citizens with honesty, integrity, and without fear or favor, to keep the trust of those who have sent us here. Amen. Honorable members, please be seated.
We are the people. 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 Justice! 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 Justice!
So eventually, maybe we will find the reviewing process for the next semester, creating the same removing
In the West, democracies are often liberal democracies. protecting individual and collective rights. That also means that the rule of law, the idea that all are equal to law, is a core component of democracy.
So we need to decide now.
Yes.
This democracy, you should be free, and be free everywhere in the world.
We are the people. 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 We are the people.
Second core characteristic is the presence of a political community, a people, the citizenry with its leaders as part of the people. Without political community, there is no democracy.
Democracy is characterized by struggle over the many political problems it tries to handle, but also struggle over democracy itself. One area of struggle is about the reach of democracy. Here, the issue is whether democracy is only confined to institutionalized politics or whether it reaches into other societal fields, such as the economy, the educational system, and the family. This struggle over democracy is about whether a family can be democratic in everyday life decisions, for instance, in handling food choices. The second struggle is about the nature of the balance between representation and participation. In democracy, the people select or elect their leadership, but the nature of the power distribution between leaders and people is highly contested. Some have argued for minimalist participation, reducing people's power to voting in elections in the field of institutionalized politics. Others have defended maximalist participation, increasing people's power and involving them in the many decision-making processes in a variety of societal fields.
A third political struggle is about political community. Who is included, who is not, who is denizen, who is citizens, who is allowed, who is removed.
Now it's here.
The fourth political struggle is about which democratic processing are using. As we have a wide variety of options for methodic organizing democracy, all with their advantage and disadvantage.
For instance, how democratic elections are organized a variety of ways, but there are also other mechanisms.
Misalnya, David van Rijbroek, ahli sejarah, budaya, dan politik Belgia, yang bilang bahwa undian bergilir bisa jadi salah satu caranya.
Still, democratic procedure is important, but the question whether democracy can be reduced to these procedures is highly contested. Those who defend a more substantive democracy argue that democracy is more than procedure and also includes human rights and democratic culture. Democracy is grounded in always particular contexts necessary for democracy to exist, and these are the so-called conditions of possibility.
These conditions of possibility are the foundations on which democracy is built. Of course, to some degree, they merge with democracy, but they remain distinct. Democracy requires a democratic culture to support it. People need to be willing to collaborate in building their societies and their follies. Democracy also requires an active people. A people that are not completely passive without a certain degree of engagement and willingness to participate, to invest time and energy in democracy. Democracy cannot exist.
A third condition of possibility is the legitimacy of the state as regulator and legislature. Without the acceptance of the rule of law and the idea that democratically established regulation needs to be respected, again, democracy cannot exist.
At the same time, societal structures need to be sufficiently decentralized, avoiding societal hierarchy. When particular groups become too powerful, as in the days of absolutisms and feudalisms, democracy cannot exist.
Okay, look at this boss. Yes. So this is the constructions we built together. The construction is pretty solid. See? Yeah.
Finally, democracy needs a degree of economic and social stability. Societies that find themselves in a deep economic or socio-political crisis have difficulties in maintaining their democratic nature.
However important democracy is, however stable it seems, it's not a given. Political systems can change for the better or for the worse. Some changes are problematic though, and these changes are threats that can undermine democracy.
A first threat is caused by the imperfection of democracy and the non-realization of democracy's promises. Democracy and the outcomes it produces are not always optimal, and this can trigger intense frustrations. This has led some authors, such as Jacques Derrida, to say that democracy is still a democracy to come. But the frustrations that the always present failures of democracy causes can structurally undermine and threaten democracy.
The second threat to democracy is related to how the polis is policed. Not only is it important to think about who is accepted as citizens, but what is even more important is the question, how are those who want to become citizens or residents, how are they handled, how are they treated? In other words, what kind of fence surrounds the corral?
A third threat is non-participation of the people and their apathy towards democracy. If a large enough group of people stops caring about democracy, democracy stops being viable.
Democracy is also a key mechanism to ban violence as a tool of decision-making. As Kennedy wrote in 1960, democracy is the renunciation of death as an instrument of decision.
And democratic states have created a monopoly of violence to protect its citizens against crime, but this solution has its flaws. Crime has not disappeared, but also state violence is sometimes exercised and violates the social contract with its citizens.
Also, political violence within democratic states, as for instance terrorism and the use of military force by democratic states in other countries, threaten democracy.
As democracy relies on the pacification of conflict, political violence poses a serious threat.
Finally, also the re-centralization of power poses a serious threat to democracy. Democracy relies on the idea that there's an empty seat of power, or in other words, that there's no absolute ruler anymore. But some actors wish to occupy this throne again and re-centralize power to create an authoritarian regime.
Democracy rests on a careful balance of a series of core elements and its conditions of possibility on the one hand, and a series of struggles on the other. Some of these struggles take place within the realm of democracy itself, and they are very much part of democracy. We should not problematize these struggles, but celebrate them. But other struggles are genuine threats to democracy, and we should not underestimate them, as they cannot destroy democracy. We should actively engage with these threats, frustrate their objectives, and limit their impact. As democracy is not given, it requires the active protection by its citizens and by their democratic leaders together. Only by collectively caring for democracy, we can keep this imperfect and sometimes frustrating model of decision-making intact, as it is probably the best we can get. But simultaneously, we can still improve democracy and find ways, as Anthony Giddens wrote, to further democratize democracy.
Try.
Thank you. I don't know how many recognized in the end this citation from a film, very classical film. This one. Who? None.
You can't see the hands, but there are hands.
At least 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're supposed to be a film school. Charlie Chaplin, Dictator, final scene. You should watch it. But thank you, Nico. And now it's response to the question.
Allow me to wrap up. So thank you for staying with us till the end of the film. It has a very optimistic ending. I confess to that. That's where Charlie Chaplin kills the dictator, also in this film. What it does raise is the question, how do we deal with the threats that currently European democracy is facing? And the list of threats is substantial. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time in discussing all the threats. The one thing that I would argue is that this film actually materializes one of the answers to these threats. And that is to speak about democracy itself. We have taken democracy, and we have taken journalism, and we have taken the polis, and we have taken the people too long for granted. And there is a need to engage in discussions about the very basics of democracy, of the political community, of the polis, what it means to be a citizen, but also of journalism. What role does journalism have to play in these new configurations? And what I think we need to do in order to protect what is still precious to, I think, all of us, is to engage in a dialogue, a societal dialogue, about a new social contract, or actually better, a renewed social contract in our societies, to decide again that maybe democracy is the least problematic model we have. And for that reason, we need to preserve that model. But I'll finish with one slide, because I know how easy it is to stand here and to screen a film about democracy and to argue that we need a renewed social contract. Even though that solution is, I think, vital, implementing that in societies that are maybe not always willing to listen anymore is easier said than done. Thank you.
Now we have time for questions, if there are any. Yes. kus ma rääkis, mikrofoni tuleb sealt, kohe tuleb. 1 second.
You need 2 microphones.
Or actually, yeah, see.
So just to clarify, I watched the end of the movie and so there was this guy with his mask. I understand it was like authoritarian regime, and so this authoritarian regime, according to your concept, should go hand in hand with democracies, and then it's happy ending, like work together, or well, this is the main message. Thank you.
No. As always with the film, there are different interpretations possible, and I welcome all different interpretations. But the fact that the Charlie Chaplin walk is there is aimed to show that the threat, because of course the masked dancer is representing the threats to democracy, that the threat has been neutralized. And by using a ridiculous, funny walk, the hand in hand is actually democracy leading the once ruler, once dictator back to democracy. That's what the point is trying to make. The film is intentionally dubious, because there are different endings possible. And one of the endings is theoretically called illiberal democracy. And that is a possible future that I didn't want to exclude. So there are different readings possible. My reading is the most optimistic one, that these threats will be conquered. And I do have some arguments for that, but there are more pessimistic readings possible. We've seen democracies collapse in the past. But that is another reason why we should be careful at this point in time. But thank you for a really great question.
There is one question more. You can.
Thank you. Just because there was some Terminator music in the film as well. So what is the role of AI in democracy?
The role of AI in democracy. Do you have a bit of time?
No.
I'm sorry. No, but be very short. Because I think that there's a reason why AI is not explicitly mentioned. Neither in, it's mentioned in the book, but it's not the main theme in the book. It's not the main theme in the film, because I think that we should not keep on focusing on AI as an exclusive, independent, autonomous force. We should look at how AI is incorporated into different societies, including political societies. AI nevertheless poses a number of serious threats. For instance, in consideration how we deal with political knowledge and truth, because we see the ecologies of knowledge production change, and there is a huge challenge. But at the same time, we already see counterforces that try to protect truth. And I think that quality journalism is actually one of the areas where we see the counter-movement. The idea that maybe we need to protect, curate knowledge, and not simply let information circulate, assuming that it will become automatically political knowledge. We also see the politics of lying becoming quite visible. Some have asked ourselves the question whether we are living in post-truth societies. I think that's too early to say. I think that, again, the counter-movement is quite significant. We see different parts of society respond, trying to argue that even truth is an extremely complicated notion, that we need mechanisms to protect it. And again, journalism plays a key role in there. So my story is a story about threats, about negotiations, but also about how we incorporate particular technologies into our societies to, I would say, domesticate them, to make them useful for us in ways that also function within a socially coherent democratic society. That's a very short version, but thank you for an impossible question.
Yeah, just a disclaimer, I highly recommend to read a book about it, because it has many, many layers. When we are talking about media democracy as such, this was just reflections on the main keywords, I can say, but if you deep in diggers, can you see how complex it is and how unbalanced it might become very easily. It's, we are living here in secured media environment, and we're happy to live here, but to read the book, you can see the signs of threats you are describing in more details, and we should take it seriously. That's definitely a highly recommended reading. No more questions? No. Then thank you, Nico.
Thank you.
And also great work of introducing or communicating academic research in a new way, which is even understandable for me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.